If you're looking to grow top quality cannabis, understanding its life cycle is key. So let's break down how to master each stage. Hey, but before we do, today's video is brought to you by Real Growers Grow Dots, the easiest way to feed your high value plants. You mix grow dots in once at the beginning of your grow, and they feed your plants all the way to harvest. You don't have to worry about nutrient burn or nutrient lockout. Grow Dots does all the hard work for you. Check them out over at realgrowers.com. And while you're there, use coupon code Scotty420 to get 20% off your first order. Now let's get back to the show. Come on, High C, let's get into this.
All right, man. So let's start with lights.
Yes.
Because that's the sexiest thing to me.
Sure.
And let's help me understand how lights work and how we can mimic what goes on in nature and duplicate that in our grow room.
Yeah, lights provide photosynthesis, photo, light, building synthesis. So that light is the energy, it's hitting that leaf, it's stimulating it enough for it to take some of the sugar from that leaf. It's got enough energy to rip the carbon off of that CO2, plants breathe CO2. And so that's what's building, that's the energy it takes to build that plant. So it's super important. Too much light, or I should say too little light, you're going to get some little wispy plant.
Okay. And let's talk about the light cycle. I know that when I'm vegging, I want a certain amount of hours of light.
Sure.
And then when I want to flip to bloom, I change my lights. So explain how and why that works.
Sure. We're simulating summer and we're simulating fall. Cannabis can absorb a lot of light. And what happens is once it hits, you'll hear this, it's DLI. Once it hits its DLI, it just can't absorb any more light. But the idea is in vegetative, but really in both stages, we want to give cannabis the most amount of light we possibly can so it can photosynthesize as much as it possibly can.
And it has two kinds of photosynthesis. One is for, like in summer, it's just growing that plant material.
Same photosynthesis, two growth stages. First growth stage simulates summer. You're leaving the lights on 18 hours a day. Some people leave them on 24 hours a day. That really does depend on how much light they're getting and whether they're hitting their DLI, their maximum light input. Cannabis in its vegetative state, this might be controversial, doesn't need to sleep. It does not. I've ran my clones 24 hours a day. I run my clones for 24 hours a day. I run my veg for 24 hours a day. So cannabis in its vegetative cycle doesn't need to sleep. It just needs to get the right amount of light.
And that 18 to 24, you said that
Simulates summer.
And that's when the plant naturally does
Vegetative growth. That's when it's just growing big into a big plant, into a big bush.
Okay, and then we switch away from the 18 hours down to
12 hours on, 12 hours off. And you got to be really serious about that. You don't want to be opening it up in the middle of the night. This simulates darkness. This simulates darkness. This simulates fall. Okay. So in fall, we know that the days are shorter.
Mm-hmm. And
so, yes.
That tells the plant what?
That tells the plant to start flowering. So now we're going to start, once it hits that 12 hours on, 12 hours off stage, and of course, as indoor growers, we control that. But once it hits that 12 hours on, 12 hours off, you're going into a flowering stage. It stops concentrating on growing to be a big bush, and it starts, it understands the plant has intelligence, and it understands that fall is here, winter's coming, it's going to die, so it needs to repopulate. So it's looking for pollen, so it starts making itself sticky. It starts pushing out trichomes and cannabinoids to attract other pollinators is really what it is.
Okay, and you were talking a little bit about light time, how much light, how many hours of light.
Sure.
Also a key factor in that is light intensity.
Absolutely. And they are tied together. Don't forget, we talked about DLI, the maximum amount of light your plant can absorb during a day. Mm-hmm. So the amount of, at least in vegetative state, the amount of time that you give your lights is directly related to that. If you've got a crazy amount of light going on and you can get your plants to absorb all the light they need within 18 hours, and running them any longer is a waste.
And that would mean like a more intense light. You
Yep.
don't need to go the full 24.
Exactly. But if you're doing it under fluorescent bulbs or something, something super old school or something where the light is up in the top of the ceiling and you're not getting a bunch of intensity, you might need to go 24 hours with that. It really does have to do with DLI.
Okay, so now when I switch over to flower, I'm cutting off 4 hours of light. That means my plant's not getting that same amount of daily light intake.
Yeah, 6, 12, 18, you're cutting off 6 hours of light.
Oh, 6? Oh, so that's even worse.
Yeah, it's a big deal. What we're talking about is you're going from an 18-hour vegetative light cycle to a 12-hour flowering light cycle. You have just reduced the amount of light hours. So the total amount of photons in a day raining down on your plant, you reduced that by a third.
So how do we adjust for that?
Oh, you got to turn it up, man. No, you got to turn your lights up by a third.
Intensity-wise.
Yeah, intensity-wise. That's why all these LEDs come with a dial.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Before the dial, I used to see people lower. They had like their lights on a thing where they could lower them and raise them up.
Yeah.
But the dial kind of eliminates the need to do that.
It sure does help a lot. I like keeping my lights at a fixed ideal range and just turning up and down the intensity as I need them.
So the day that I drop my hours and flip over to, I just crank up that day?
You've seen my grow. You felt my pain. No, you have to do it very slowly. Cannabis can handle a lot of light, but it can't handle a lot of light and that quickly of a change. So I go in every day and once I hit flowering every day, I just try to dial it up like the tiniest amount, just maybe 3-5%, just the smallest click that I can make on the light. And I do that every couple days. I'll do that because I have burnt my plants before.
By doing it too quickly.
Yes.
Okay, so I get adjusting my lights to mimic what happens in nature inside of my grow room.
Sure.
What about temperature and humidity? What goes on in nature that your plant is looking for, and then how do we compensate for that in our grow?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, right? When the longer light cycle is simulating summer. So if we're going to simulate summer with the light, why not do it with temperature and humidity as well? So in vegetative, the plants can handle a little bit higher of temperature and higher humidity. Definitely, just like summer.
Gotcha. And then when I'm flipping over to flower.
Yes, you want to lower the temperature a little bit more like fall, and you want to lower the humidity as well. And the idea is that the plants need to breathe. They need to off gas. So by lowering the humidity, it makes it easier for the water and nutrient to go through the plant.
Kind of like when it's really humid outside and you're trying to exercise and it just makes it miserable for you.
Yeah, that's what gets in the vapor pressure deficit. We've actually done a couple of videos on that. But yeah, that's actually when the plant can breathe, whether it can get rid of that extra water and humidity that's on it. Makes a huge performance difference, just like us.
Okay, so a little bit higher temperature and humidity is okay during veg. You want to lower it a little bit. And there's charts out there that show you where you're trying to aim for during each stage, right?
Yeah, definitely. You can look, this has to do with VPD or vapor pressure deficit. And it's about in the beginning when there's clones, you want a bunch of humidity in the clone dome. That's why you have a clone dome. They're breathing out of their leaves. As they go into vegetative, they're used to a whole bunch of humidity. And then as you go into flower, you want to lower that humidity down. Humidity is more important than temperature, in my opinion. I run my rooms in the mid to high 70s, 75, 77, veg and flower. But it's really important that I control the humidity correctly, particularly in flowering.
Okay, you say that you adjust and manage your humidity. How do you do that?
You can use a dehumidifier if you need to. A lot of times it's as easy as just using a fan. My fan in a tent hooked up to a carbon filter. When it gets too humid in the tent, it'll exhaust. And then my lung room, which is the room that the tent is sitting in, because I have air conditioning, is usually less humid. And so it just circulates that air. So having a lung room or a tent with a fan, an exhaust fan, in a small situation, in a larger situation, you'll want to get a dehumidifier.
Gotcha. And a shout out to AC Infinity, not a sponsor of the show, but they do have this. They have this unit that you can put on the outside of your tent that monitors
a controller. Yeah, it's they used to call them monitor controllers actually, and they used to be $700, but now AC Infinity's got one included in your tent. So, yeah, huge game changer. The idea is you set the temperature and humidity, and it just hits a fan. So as soon as the temperature gets too high or the humidity gets too high for its set point, it just hits this fan. The fan exhausts. It passively sucks or actively sucks air into the tent, and you stabilize your humidity and temperature.
It certainly does suck.
Okay. Not bad, man. Not bad.
Next one in the plant's life cycle is nutrients. I think this is important because this was a very confusing. And when I first got into growing and I looked at the nutrient charts, this scared the crap out of me. It was so complicated. So help me understand nutrients in the plant life cycle.
We talk about the different stages of growth with cannabis, right? In that 18 hours of light, we're growing these big bushy plants. In the 12 hours, we're growing these flowers, basically. So we're doing different things. When we're growing a big giant plant, we need a lot of green growth. And when I think of green growth, I think of nitrogen. When you look at N, P, and K, the first, those three numbers on the bottle, the first one is nitrogen. You'll see that a lot of times with a veg formula or something that's appropriate for growing the plants, it'll have a high first number, have that high nitrogen number. That tells you that it's meant for pushing out a lot of green growth.
All right. And so we need that because that's what's absorbing the sun and helping the plant grow.
Yep. Building chlorophyll.
And then when I've looked at the different feeding schedules, I noticed that when it comes to flower, the nitrogen drops. Why is that?
Yeah, because we're not concentrating on leafy growth anymore. I don't know if you've ever seen outdoor bud that wasn't done so well. It's got big leaves coming out of it and whatnot. It's got way too much nitrogen in it. Chlorophyll gives it a weird smell. Nitrogen helps build chlorophyll. And chlorophyll, I'm not a weird smell, a weird taste. So if you've ever gotten like green kind of, yeah, it just doesn't taste so good. It's got too much chlorophyll left in it. So the plant needs nitrogen even during its second stage, its flowering stage, but just not nearly as much. So we want to change the ratios.
Okay, so more nitrogen while it's growing the plant itself.
Yep.
Still some nitrogen, but less nitrogen when we're trying to grow those buds.
Yeah, more of a balance. You're going from a big giant peak of nitrogen in the beginning, maybe it's a 16, 5, 4 or something like that. And then you're going to a more balance, so where the nitrogen and the phosphorus and the potassium will be a lot closer together as far as numbers.
And I've seen there's some really simple solutions where you just mix this much of your N and this much of your P and K for the first part, and then you cut down on the nitrogen, and it's still the same two things mixing, but it's just less of one for the second part. They do make it easy. Grow dots is what I use.
Yeah.
And it makes it so easy because I don't even have to worry about it. Kind of explain the nutrient for the two stages of life for a plant when it comes to how grow dots work.
Sure. I'll tell you a tiny bit about me. I'm a professional grower. I have a bamboo nursery in Florida, and the liquids, when I first started, I was a weed grower, and I went down there. I said, well, where do I put, I'm building a bamboo nursery. Where do I put my liquid feed? Where do I put my tanks? And they go, the liquid's the dessert. He goes, this is the food right here. And he shows me a granular fertilizer, a slow release granular fertilizer. That is some cool technology. That's what I use in my grow dots. And really the trick of the grow dots is I just blend two of them together. I blend a high nitrogen granular fertilizer, a slow release in the beginning, and then it runs out after about 6-8 weeks. And then the lower nitrogen, the more balanced fertilizer for flowering takes over. So it's just a blend of these two fertilizers. One has a delayed release to it, but that's really the trick to grow dots anyway.
So grow dots kind of work the same way. They give extra nitrogen for the first 4 to 6 weeks.
Yep.
And then they give that more balanced after that boost of nitrogen kind of runs out.
Exactly. And I just do it with delayed release coatings.
Okay, so the main point is, though, during veg, more nitrogen. During bloom, a more balanced nutrient mix.
Correct, sir. Correct, sir. And a ton of nitrogen. At the end, you'll hear people talk about flushing, which is running out of nutrients at the end. From what I've seen with flushing I've been growing for over 20 years, and you don't want a bunch of nitrogen left in the end. It's not necessarily that a lot of these nutrients are immobile, meaning once they're in there, in the plant, they're in there. They're not getting washed out. Nitrogen is a mobile nutrient, so we want to get that out of there. That's the most important thing.
And speaking of flushing, I've heard some growers argue that even if there is a little bit of nitrogen left in the soil, once the plant gets to the point where it's about to hit the last part of its life cycle, it stops uptaking most of those nutrients anyways.
Yes, exactly. They call it senescence, and it stops getting hungry. I think we can all find analogies with that.
It gets dark at this point. All right. Okay, cool. So I understand how lights impact each cycle of my plant. I understand temperature and humidity now, and I've got a pretty good grasp on the nutrients, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for helping me get this stuff out of my head, Hi-C. I've been having this stuff sorted out in there, or not sorted out, for about 25 years, and doing these with you has been a real pleasure. I gotta say, it is such a pleasure having the community and seeing all these positive comments. So thank you so much. This has been a true joy. And speaking of comments, what do you think growers should know about the plant life cycle? Come on, leave it in the comments. And if you like this video, please hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, share it with another grower you know, and check out the other couple videos YouTube's recommended. I hope you will dig them.